Hey creatives, welcome back to my channel. This is Sammy Says Create, and this is a channel where I do all sorts of DIY and creative projects, and I bring you along for the ride. So today I have quite a chilled activity for us to do, quite a nice relaxing creative project. It's kind of along the same sort of lines as the colouring books. And obviously these colouring books can be really good for when you just want some chill, some downtime. So it's quite similar to that in that sort of way. We are going to be creating some faux stained glass art, or just fake stained glass if you're a bit common like me. So what we're waiting for, roll those titles. My lighting's a bit all over the place today. The sun is in and out and I use mostly natural lighting at the minute, so I apologise. We are going to create some really nice fake faux stained glass pieces of artwork. Like I was saying, this is a really nice, really chilled activity you could do one evening when you get home from work. So these can be done on any sort of scale, they really can. So I've seen them be done quite small, just as little pieces of artwork, which is what I'm going to show you how to do today. Or window hangings, so when the sun comes through the window, it shines through the colours and makes these gorgeous colours. This technique can also be used on jars and glasses. It looks a lot more complicated and sophisticated than it actually is once you've done it. The opportunities really are pretty endless once you've played around with this once or twice and you know what you're doing with it. You're going to need a pane of glass, okay? So I've just got this old frame here. So I'm going to keep the frame, I'm going to keep the glass, but I'm just going to take all the middle out, and then hopefully once it's all dry I can pop it back in the frame potentially, and it could be a way of displaying it. You're also going to need a pattern or something to trace from. Now you can just use a colouring book, so I've got a colouring book here, which some of these patterns are quite intricate, so I probably won't kind of go to this extreme. I might just trace around the main sort of pattern. Then we're going to need our crafter's best friend, good old Mod Podge. We're going to need some black acrylic paint. Now we're going to use this to create the black outline, so we're going to mix that with the Mod Podge. There's two different methods that I'm going to use to try and create this black outline. It has been suggested online that you use like a sauce bottle. This is the cutest little sauce bottle ever. Or the other method that I was going to try, which I've not seen anyone do, is a food bag. So I was kind of going to use it like a piping bag. And I think that way you can control the size of the hole as well. So I will try both methods and I'll let you know which one I do prefer. I have got just a skewer and a little pot, and this is what I'm going to mix my black paint with my Mod Podge in. I'm throwing paint brushes. I've got a range of different size paint brushes because obviously I'm not quite sure how intricate the detail is going to be, so I'm covered for all bases. Just a little palette just to pop my paint in for later on. And finally I have got these gel icing colours, but normal food colourings should work quite nicely as well. So we have all our stuff ready to go. I'm going to have a flick through this, I'm going to choose which pattern I would like to use as my base, and then I'm going to move on to the tutorial. The first thing I did was take the glass out of the frame. Just note this weird foamy thing that was in there. I did actually use it later on, even though I thought initially it was a bit of a nuisance, so I just took one of the foamy bits off the side, but I will explain a little bit further later on. And I gave the glass just a bit of a wipe to get rid of any fingerprints or dust. I put my chosen image underneath the glass. If you feel like you need to make it a little bit more secure, then feel free to tape it at this point. But I found that it didn't move at all, so it wasn't really needed. I then mixed some of the black acrylic paint with the Mod Podge, so you don't need loads of this, so don't go too crazy. So I found that when I was mixing the acrylic paint with the glue, I was really struggling to get a really dark black colour, and I was just using more and more paint. So I just kind of ended up using like more of a darker grey, but it works just as well, so don't worry if you encounter the same sort of problem. The next bit is a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly, so we need to get the glue into the bag. But obviously you don't want to use loads of glue because you don't want to waste it, but you need the glue to go to the bottom corner of the bag. So yeah, it was a little bit tricky, but I did manage it, so it's not impossible. If I can do it, it's definitely not impossible. I sealed up the bag and then proceeded to push the glue down towards the bottom corner for any of those bits that weren't already there. So it did spread out a little bit, but when we twist the bag, it does tend to kind of go back down, if that makes sense. And then I twisted the bag until it was really nice and tight. So if you're a baker and you ice cupcakes or anything like that, you'll be a pro at this. It's exactly the same principle, but that way you've got the pressure behind it. Then just snip the corner of your bag off. So obviously the bigger the snip, the bigger the hole is going to be. I literally cut the tiniest little hole into this because I wanted these lines to be so small. And from here it is simply tracing the lines. So just going around the lines of the pattern that you are copying from. It's really that simple for this stage. It takes a while, but be patient, it looks really good, and just try and be as neat as possible. I already instantly knew that this was the method I was going to use over the sauce bottle. The sauce bottle nozzle was a lot thicker than this, and also you need to fill the actual sauce bottle with glue in order to get the pressure and the movement through. If my design was bigger and the lines were thicker, then I may have gone for the bottle option. So let's just see a lovely little time lapse of me drawing this out. It was so therapeutic, it's so chill. You can literally pop something on the telly or put some music on and just relax while you're doing it. And this is how the outline of the pattern turned out, so I think it looks fab. So I left that aside to dry. I think I left it for about an hour and a half, just to make sure it was really set for the next stage. And now I was ready to move on to the colour. In order to make the colours, I grabbed some extra skewers just so that I could use a different one for each colour. And I then poured the Mod Podge into the palette, so we only needed the smallest blob of glue. So yeah, here I'm just popping a little bit of water into the palette, mixing it with the Mod Podge, and then I'm going to add in the colour. And I'm going to do this for all of my chosen colours, so I have chosen 6 colours to work with. So I don't know why, it might just be me, but this palette is so satisfying to look at. Please do let me know if you agree, it's not just me. And then it's just all about the painting. Again, really therapeutic. I'll pop this as a little time lapse so you can see how it changes over the time and you can see what it looks like. So just use whatever colours you want in whatever order you want. Just be nice and creative and create something that you would want to pop on your wall or give as a gift. This is what it looked like after one coat of the paint. So I decided to let it dry and I added another coat of the paint just because I felt like it wasn't quite as bright as what I would have liked. Here it is just against the window. I'm not sure if this comes across on camera, but this was after the second coat had been left to dry, and I just think it looks so much more vibrant and so much more stained glassy. If that's stained glassy? Yeah, you know what I mean. So I could have left it here, popped it back in the frame without the wooden backing, and it does look really cool, but I had a bit of an idea. I knew I had these LED bottle lights left over from an old project, and I thought it would be amazing and it would look really cool if we could get the stained glass lit up. How to turn a project from relaxing to stressful 101. No, it was actually pretty worth it. It did look cool in the end. But it was a bit of a mission to try and figure out how I was going to pop these lights in the frame without there being a back on it. So that was my main issue. So after throwing some ideas around, I remembered that I had another one of the same frame. So I bought them from the pound shop ages and ages ago, and I bought a few at the time. So I thought my initial idea is I could sandwich the lights in between 2 panes of glass. That's what I was thinking. And then this happened. So, new plan. Out comes the glue gun. I glued the lights to the inside of the second frame, kind of in like a wavy pattern, and the plan was to then stick the two frames together. There were a couple of ways I could have done this, but I was really struggling to try and make it look neat, so that's why I didn't want to just directly glue the lights to the glass panel that I had stained glassed. So this was why I was trying to look for other options to make it a little bit neater. And I am actually really glad to say that this did eventually work, and it looked really, really good. And so I just gave it a last little wipe down just to get rid of any fingerprints, obviously really carefully, just so I wasn't affecting any of the paint. I did also unscrew the hooks off the back of both of the frames, just so that I could stick both frames together. And at this point I was really grateful that I didn't actually kind of rip off the foam strip that I showed you earlier on. So because I didn't put the back on this frame, I obviously needed something to hold the glass into place. So I literally put the glass panel back in and stuck the foam strip back down onto the inside of the frame. So obviously I've never seen a frame come with this foam strip before. It obviously was really useful, but if you don't have anything like this, then there are ways that you can create something similar just to stop that glass coming out. So just have a play around. And you could even recreate this foam strip with a piece of foam and some double-sided sticky tape as well if you are struggling. And my final step was just to glue around the outside of the frames and stick them both together. I chose to have the actual side of the glass that I did do the stained glass on the inside of the frame, just from a cleaning perspective. So it just looked a little bit neater, a little bit crisper, and I knew that when it came to cleaning this piece of artwork, it would be much easier and the dust wouldn't stick into the paint. But it is your choice which way round you would like to do it. And we are done. So I hope you've taken inspiration from this video. So if you decide to create any of your own faux stained glass, please do send me a picture. It's find me on Instagram, feel free to drop me a message or just pop a comment in the comments box below. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have done creating it, please do make sure you drop me a like, hit the subscribe button, and please do hit the notification bell, and that way you won't miss out on any of my future tutorials. But that's everything for today's tutorial. Until next Thursday, keep creative. Bye.